Hello, I'm Meredith and this is Meredith Making Magic. I love to make magic at home. I love to host themed tea parties and movie nights. I love making magically inspired recipes and DIY craft projects. Basically, I always have to have some type of craft or project that I'm working on. This video was so fun for me because all of the crafts that I made were inspired by my favorite princess, Rapunzel. Rapunzel's movie is so beautiful in the animation and the colors that I really loved pulling inspiration from this. I focused mainly on the lantern theme of the movie, a soft pink purple color palette, and lots of florals. So that's what I will be incorporating into my 5 DIY projects today. My birthday party is going to be a Tangled Tea Party, so a lot of what I will be focusing on will be backdrops, centerpieces, and pieces for the table settings on the table. I really hope you're excited to see what I made. These are some of my favorite craft projects I have ever put together, and I really loved working on them. Just like Rapunzel, I love to paint. It is one of my favorite hobbies, so I had to incorporate painting and the Tangled Lantern scene into one of the decorations for my party. Since I am doing a Tangled Tea Party theme for my birthday, I'm mainly focusing on centerpieces, backdrops, and table setting pieces. So I thought a fun thing to incorporate into the table setting would be painting coasters like Tangled Lantern painting, so each place setting would have their own Tangled painting. I unfortunately did not film much of this craft project process, but it was pretty easy. I just got wooden coasters from Hobby Lobby. I painted them with a purple pink background. I added the lantern detail on top, and then I sealed everything with a clear varnish. They held up perfectly and were such a beautiful touch to the table setting and really pulled all the theming together. I love having a cozy craft evening, so I got all set up with my tea, candles. I was watching Downton Abbey, and I set up to paint some Tangled inspired coasters. I started out by painting an ombre purple background on my coasters. So I started with a darker purple and then blended it into a lighter purple, kind of pinky purple color. I liked to use a wet brush while I was doing this so I could kind of blend the colors as I was going to really help them ombre into each other and have that kind of soft sunset cloud feeling. I decided to do 2 variations on my coaster sets. So I did 4 coasters in the deeper purple ombre and 4 coasters in a lighter pink purple ombre. And then I did slightly different lantern patterns on each of the coasters too. I really wanted them to all look cohesive, but then I could have a little bit of variety on my table settings. After the coasters' backgrounds were dry, it was time to add in the lanterns. I used a few different shades of yellow paint and a variety of different sizes and shapes to paint the lanterns. This part is really fun and easy. You just want to keep it organic and do a variety of different sizes and colors so it doesn't look too uniform. I also would go in again and add highlights or darker colors to add some more depth and variety to the lanterns. On these coasters, I like to paint the larger lanterns first and kind of outline the shape and pattern I was going for, and then go back in with the smaller lantern shapes and really fill out the design and pattern across the coaster. I didn't record this process, but after I had finished painting the coasters and they were fully dry, I sealed them with a clear acrylic varnish. Just followed the instructions on the bottle, painted on thin coats of the varnish, letting it dry several hours in between each coat. I don't think I will ever get tired of painting the Tangled lanterns. They turn out so beautiful every time. I decided to do a mock-up of my table just to see how all of the elements I had created were looking together. After seeing the table settings come together, I decided I needed some tangled napkin rings to really pull everything together. I got started on my next DIY project right away. I wanted to use materials that I already had on hand, so I decided to make tangled lanterns out of clay and then make some floral arrangements out of some lavender and other floral elements that I had in my craft stash. My clay was really old, so I had to condition it a lot to get it nice and soft and usable. You really want to make sure you condition your clay before you use it so that you end up with the best end product. I mixed together a few colors of clay to get the shade of yellow I was looking for the lanterns, and then I used a cookie cutter to help me shape the lanterns. I didn't have a rectangle cookie cutter, so I kind of improvised, but it really helped me to get a more uniform shape. My lanterns did all end up slightly different sizes, but I was kind of okay with that result, and they were going to be their own napkin rings anyways. I then followed the directions on my clay package and baked them in the oven. Here are my clay pieces after they came out of the oven. And then I got set up to paint the tangled sun on each of these lanterns. I created a small stencil of the tangled sun, and then I traced it onto each lantern and went over it with a gold metallic paint. I did end up having to do 2 or 3 coats of the gold metallic paint to get a nice solid coverage. Again, I didn't film this, but I used the same varnish that I used to seal the coasters to seal the clay lantern pieces, and I just followed the same steps that I did before. Now it was time to make the ring part of the napkin ring, and I had this beautiful gold diamond floral wire from previous projects, and I just wrapped that around a container that I liked the size of about 3 times, so there were 3 rings on my napkin ring. I used pliers to bend the ends of the wire back in, and then I glued it onto the back of my lanterns. I wanted to make sure it was really secure, so I also took a yellow satin ribbon and glued that over the rings just to make sure they didn't pull off easily. I think these lantern napkin rings turned out so beautiful, and I love that I was able to create them with materials I already had. You could use them just like this, but I wanted to create little floral arrangements to stick into my napkin rings. To make my mini floral bouquets, I had these lamb's ear leaves, lavender sprigs, and these tiny pink rosebuds. I used floral tape to securely attach everything together, adding in one element at a time and then adding the next element on top of it. I started from the top and kind of twisted around each element just to make everything was completely secure together, and then I just twisted down the stem. Can you have too many lanterns at one party? I don't think so. This next craft, I am making miniature lanterns to add to floral arrangements that I can use as centerpieces at my party. I cut various lengths of paper ranging between 1 to 2 inches in width. I wanted to have different sizes of lanterns so I could create good variety in height when putting together my floral arrangements. After cutting out a variety of sizes, I went in with my gold metallic paint and freehanded some designs on the top and the bottom of the lanterns. I then used another Tangled Sun stencil and traced that onto my lantern and painted gold on top of that. I repeated that for each of the lanterns, and again, I liked doing at least 2 coats to make the gold a little bit brighter. Next, we want to take our lanterns and shape them. So I added glue onto one side of the lantern, rolled it up, and glued the other side. And then you just use your hands to kind of roll it and make the shape kind of soft and round. Now it's time to add the lanterns to our flower arrangements. I actually put these flower arrangements together for an earlier event, but decided it would be really cute to add the lanterns in them to make them even more Tangled inspired. All I was doing here was cutting different lengths of floral wire and taping them with clear tape to the inside of the lantern. So it was super easy to assemble these, and I was getting really excited to be able to add them to my flower arrangements. Adding these to my flower arrangements was also really easy. I just chose 3 lanterns to add to each arrangement, and I tried to vary the height and sizes of each lantern. So I cut down the wire where I needed so that the lanterns were sitting where I thought they looked best. I also made sure to keep turning my arrangements as I was working on them to make sure they looked good from all sides. I'm back with more Tangled inspired DIY projects that I'm putting together for my birthday party, which is going to be a Tangled Tea Party. So today I'm going to be making a floral Tangled inspired backdrop. I'm figuring it out as I go, and let's just see what we end up with. I picked up these purple flowers from Walmart, and then I had some other purple flowers in my collection left over from a previous Rapunzel project. After sorting through all my flowers, I decided the best way to go about this would be to back all of my flowers with felt. Not only would this make them look cohesive when you see the back of them, but it would also give me something to easily stitch through to thread them onto strings so that I could hang them on the backdrop. I loved how the felt was able to cover up these cheap plastic backings on the flowers, because you will see the backs of the flowers. They turn and they rotate when they're hanging, so it's just nice to have a cohesive, clean backing on all of the flowers. For the hydrangea flowers, I glued 2 of the flower petals together to give them a little bit more dimension, and then I added a circle of felt to the back. For the tulip flowers, I cut this lily pad shape, so a circle with a little triangle cut out of it, and then I was able to wrap that around the edge of the flower, cutting off the excess and gluing it into place. I had all of my flowers prepped and ready to start assembling the floral strings for the backdrop. What I did to string them onto the backdrop was cut a piece of thread the length that I wanted the flowers to hang, plus a little bit of extra. And then I used a sewing needle and I just started threading the flowers onto the string, sewing through the felt backing that I had glued on. I was using my hand to kind of space out the flowers, but you could adjust them as you went. As I finished each floral string, I hung them up on my backdrop. I did this so that I wouldn't have them all getting tangled together. This also helped me see how they were visually coming together so I could differentiate my patterns and lengths, because I just wanted it to have a really kind of random, natural feel and not have too much pattern. Plot twist, for the next craft, we are making even more tangled lanterns. These ones are a little bit more life-sized, and I am going to be hanging them from my ceiling over the table for that magical tangled effect. I found a pattern for these on Pinterest, and I will share the tutorial and printout that I used, but basically you just print them out, line up the different pages, glue them together, cover the back with contact paper, glue them into a circle or square depending on the shape of lantern you are making, and then add in some wire to help hold the shape and to be able to hang them from. The hardest part of this craft is adding in the wire. It's a little bit tedious to get the right shape, but put on a good movie, you'll get the hang of it, and the end result is so worth it. I will say the circular lanterns were a lot easier to put the wire into and a lot more forgiving than the square ones. With the square ones, you had to get each bend of the corner of the wire perfectly in there so that it fit the shape, but the circular ones were so easy. So if you want an easier one, just do all circular lanterns. You will also add in rubber bands to your top wire so that you have something to hang your string off of, so you can hang them from the ceiling or from a string of lights. I got some remote controlled LED lights to hook inside of my lantern so I could turn them on and off with a remote, and I loved being able to turn on the lanterns as the light went down and have them glowing above my table. It was just so magical. My lanterns did not turn out perfectly, each one. I was kind of getting the hang of it, so towards the end they definitely turned out better than the first ones, but hanging from the ceiling you really couldn't tell, and they were so magical, and I'm really glad I had these added to my party. As I said earlier, the square lanterns were a little bit more time consuming to make, but I did enjoy having the variety of shapes hanging from my ceiling with the different lanterns. I also really liked how the square lanterns had a tangled sun on each side. It just helped complete the visual picture, being able to see more suns from the lanterns at different angles. When working with the square lanterns, I found it helpful to measure one of the sides of the squares and then pre-bend my wire before trying to fit it into the lantern and tape it into place. I just wanted to quickly highlight and show off some of the crafts that we have completed in today's video. So we have our lanterns, which we will be hanging from the ceiling. So I have the round one, and the square one. We have our flower lantern centerpieces. This is probably one of the favorite crafts I came up with for this party. It's just so delicate and magical, and it really added a lot to the table. And then we have our napkin rings. Of course, our coasters. Even painted the back side. And another cute way to display the coasters if you want to send them home with your guests as a party favor, or if you just want to display them on the table like this, it's really cute. You can display them on a little easel as a painting. And then our other set of coasters, the light purple, pink ones. I really love this set. That's everything, but I'll show you the other napkin that I have over here. So these, how they work is this piece slides into this piece. You just slip it onto the napkin. So really easy, really cute. I love the way that these turned out. I had so much fun coming up with these Rapunzel inspired DIY projects. Let me know which craft was your favorite, and come back next week for part 2 of this video where I finish prepping for my birthday party. I made an entire menu of Tangled themed foods and desserts, and it was so magical to see months of crafting and planning come together for my birthday party. If you are inspired to create something from this video, I would love to see what you make. You can tag me on any social media platform at Meredith Making Magic, or send me a picture. It would just make my day if I got to see what you made. I will see you next Friday, and I hope you have a magical day.